Welcome to Shaping Healthcare, a podcast by Citius Tech. I'm your host, Laurel Rockall. Today, we are joined by Anita Mangtani, Senior Healthcare Consultant for Life Sciences at Citius Healthcare Consulting. With over 15 years in IT life sciences, Anita specializes in life sciences knowledge management, industry frameworks, and digital solutions for global pharma companies. Her expertise in market insights, strategy, and the life sciences value chain continuum make her an invaluable resource for overcoming data silos and driving holistic insights integration for advanced digital pharma solutions. In our episode today, Anita will share insights into key integration challenges in life sciences, the impact of industry alliances, and the role of translational sciences in driving interoperability and innovation. Anita, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Laurel. Glad to be here today.
Really great to have you. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. There's a lot of great things to talk about. I first want to start with interoperability in life sciences is critical, right? But it's often a very complex issue. From your perspective, what does effective interoperability look like within this space? And what are some of the key challenges that healthcare organizations and life sciences companies face when they're trying to achieve it?
Thanks for starting with such a foundational question. So, it really gets to the core of interoperability in life sciences. If you see from my lens, from my perspective, effective interoperability would look like a well connected ecosystem where data would flow from smoothly across the ecosystem, from research labs to clinical settings to patient care. Picture a translational scientist, identifying a key biomarker. And that insight is quickly, integrated into a pharma trial database and a hospital's EHR to inform a new therapy. It's about secure, real-time data exchange that links science to practical solutions efficiently. Achieving this hinges on three elements. First, integration that manages complexity. Life sciences handles diverse data, genomics, real world evidence, imaging, variables, all needed to align into a single usable stream. Second is industry alliances that enable progress. Partnerships like those in the trusted exchange framework, they streamline data sharing and set common standards. Third is my key aspect, which I would be calling out time and again in our podcast today, translational sciences. They are the critical link. They take raw research, make it actionable and ensure discoveries translate into formats which the healthcare industry can adopt. So that said, the challenges are significant. One major hurdle today is integration difficulties. Everest report now states that a late stage trial in today's date generates 3.6 million data points. This is three times more than a decade ago. Although we know or we understand that there are 96% of US health systems use EHRs, blending that data into trials remain tricky due to inconsistent standards and siloed systems. Plus, healthcare data today is often unstructured, complicating efforts to standardize it. Another challenge which I would like to cite today, point number two, is the trust issues for data sharing. Although industry alliances today are making strides, we have partnerships with hyperscaler platforms like AWS and Microsoft. Yet, life sciences organizations today still see data as proprietary. Patients today still worry about data privacy. Only 40% of data in today's data is interoperable, as per NIH estimates, partly due to these concerns. Finally, coming to translational sciences, they face resource constraints as well, although they are essential for interoperability, turning lab findings into usable findings. But at the same time, they need high quality data to succeed. For example, unified clinical data and analytic platforms today, which are leading, which are trending, with AI, they can predict trial risk, although they can, but poor data quality would slow that down. Having said that, I believe that one major challenge in today's state is also, nevertheless, achieving interoperability is that systems need to comply with ever evolving regulatory requirements. Lastly, summarizing this from a business standpoint, from an ROI perspective, clearly interoperability is a big value add. It could shorten the drug development timelines with the cloud and the data fabrics as enablers that we have today. Although alliances do boost efficiency, we would also require an IT investment. And healthcare organizations would need to train staff to embrace data sharing. So, at the end of the day, effective interoperability would mean a connected life sciences landscape supported by alliances and translational efforts. The challenges, integration issues, trust barriers, regulatory hurdles, and translation limits are real, but there are also opportunities, is what I would say, to rethink how we advance healthcare. It's a complex journey, but one worth taking to bridge science and solutions.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned a few complexities in there, like complex points, but you also mentioned compliance and how compliance affects that whole
True.
ecosystem. I want to dig a little bit more into that. How do compliance requirements influence interoperability efforts within life sciences? And even with clear guidelines, organizations struggle with platform integration. So, what are some of those biggest compliance challenges and how can they be addressed?
Sure. Thanks for that question. So it's a great chance to unpack, to you and the team out here, how regulations are steering the ship for interoperability in life sciences. From my experience, regulations have turned data integration from a back office core into a frontline priority. They are not just rules to follow, they are also shaping how organizations connect their systems to make science and healthcare work better together. Let me walk you through how this plays out and the hurdles companies face along the way. First, how have regulations influenced this? They've put a spotlight on speed and connection. For example, take the FDA's ICH-6 E6 guideline. It has brought sponsors to a spotlight where sponsors are now needed to oversee trials in real time. That means data from labs, trials, and clinics can't just sit in silos. It has to flow fast and securely. Secondly, there's the fast healthcare interoperability resource standards. It's becoming the go to language for sharing health data thanks to laws like the US 21st Century Cures Act. Companies are now designing systems to speak fire from the start, not as an afterthought, because regulators expect it. Thirdly, I would say industry alliances. Trusted exchange framework, for example. They have cut data sharing delays by 30%, making compliance less of a solo slog at this point of time. I would just like to add to the note that I shared earlier on the regulatory ecosystem out there. Would like to build it up with where the story gets tricky along with the regulatory information that we have, the powerhouse of information that we have. There are still the story is still dicey along the way. One big challenge out there today is old technology, legacy technology. Many life sciences firms that you see today, they're stuck with systems from decades ago. Think lab tools or EHRs that don't play nice with modern standards. 60% of IT budgets in today's date are spent just to keep these relics running, leaving little time to even link them up. Next, regulations don't agree with each other, they don't talk to each other. For example, let's take FDA. FDA would always want a real time safety report, especially with tricky drugs like biologics. Companies thereby end up cobbling together integrations to meet both sets of sides of the law, which eats time and money. Then, lastly, there's the pressure on translational sciences, the folks turning lab discoveries into real world fixes. Although regulations like HIPAA would demand clean, compliant data, but if your systems aren't integrated, you are stuck with a mess. Further impacting advanced interventions. That is, slowing down AI tools that could spot trial risk early. Translational teams end up spending more time fixing data rather than innovating. At the end of the day, what's the storyline? Regulations are pushing life sciences to integrate data smarter and faster, leaning on alliances to share the load, and translational sciences to bridge the gaps. The business upside is huge, really huge. Think of 20% shorter trials or better patient outcomes. But the challenge is, as I listed, outdated tech, clashing regulatory rules, data cleanup. These means companies need to rethink their approach, not just patch it. It's a tough road, but it's about getting science to patients quicker. That's the payoff that keeps this worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it comes down to
I know.
to patients and those within the healthcare system, patients and the doctors and the staff that use them. And another thing that you've mentioned throughout our show and our time together today, Anita, is translational sciences. And this is something I mentally marked early that it's something you're very passionate about and that you put a lot of feel is very important, of course. I want to follow up with that. Translational sciences, as we're talking about, bridging gaps and everything all working together as a cohesive system. Translational sciences, bridging that gap between the research and these clinical applications. How does that improved interoperability accelerate this process, as you were just illustrating?
So, thanks for highlighting translational sciences. It's a critical link between research and clinical outcomes. And interoperability is the tool which would enhance its efficiency. From a business perspective, improved interoperability accelerates translational sciences. How? By overcoming the data integration barriers and enabling rapid evidence based decisions. This directly impacts the operational timelines and resource allocation, which are in today's state the key priorities in life sciences and, for that matter, any healthcare organization that we see. Interoperability, leveraging key standards like FHIR, supported by the AWS Health Lake, for example, addresses the core challenge of data fragmentation. It integrates research data into clinical workflows swiftly, minimizing delays. So, yeah, I believe we are quite strong out there with regards to there's a very strong need of having translational sciences and working upon it to bridge this gap.
And what role does that seamless data exchange play in
Sure.
being able to drive that innovation within those translational sciences?
So, seamless data exchange further enhances the innovation within translational sciences. How? So, when data flows effortlessly, such as from research systems to EHRs to the R&D platform, it empowers precise analysis and adaptation. As I quoted earlier, the AWS Health Lake's FHIR API that consolidates patient data, allowing translational teams to merge the trial insights with clinical outcomes effectively. Manual processes increase cost and errors with seamless exchange eliminates. Industry alliances would also bolster these efforts. Take, for example, data activation platform. It collaborates with major EHR vendors, standardizing data across healthcare systems. Serving health clients, it integrates disparate sources into a unified model, streamlining translational workflows. This reduces the burden of data reconciliation, allowing the actual focus on innovation. From a business standpoint, the benefits are clear. Faster translation, it would lower the R&D cost, hasten the market entry. McKinsey estimates that precision medicine could yield $1 trillion globally, contingent on accessible data. Interoperability and seamless exchange position translational sciences as a strategic driver, optimizing efficiency and driving tangible value across the healthcare system.
And with everything evolving so rapidly, just the from technology evolving rapidly to systems moving quicker, how are organizations rethinking their approach to interoperability today? What is this next step?
Thanks, Laurel, for that forward looking question. Interoperability today in life sciences is at a turning point with massive potential and steep hurdles. Biggest opportunity is harnessing the data to transform R&D and patient outcomes. Translational sciences shine here, linking lab breakthroughs to clinical applications faster. The challenges that what I foresee in today's day, one, integration is brutal. There's a Gartner's report out there which shows that only 40% of healthcare data is interoperable thanks to siloed legacies, inconsistent standards, and unstructured data. Everest flags a 96% EHR adoption, yet trial integration lags, risking delays in a 2.6 billion drug development cycle out there. Not to mention the daunting pressures due to data privacy and governance laws, further mounted by regulatory ambiguity, adding to the woes of slower adoption, again reiterating, slower adoption of advanced AI augmented solutions. At the end, what steps should organizations take? First, invest in unified platforms with pre built connectors, consolidate disparate sources, EMRs, labs, variables, into a single truth, slashing the data prep time. Maybe my recommendation would be to start with a pilot, a phased rollout to test the ROI, like faster database locks before scaling. Second could be to upskill teams in Fire and AI. Fire is the de facto language in today's state for exchange. Train the staff to master it, ensuring data flows seamlessly across ecosystems. Pair these with AI expertise. Gartner predicts 60% of top life science organizations will be using Gen AI for safety by 2026. Third, I would cite is that we could probably shift the organization culture to prioritize data sharing and frame it as a moral imperative. LS industry today, the life science industry, they have coined a term for this: ubiquitous data. Organizations could update maybe their mission statements to commit to it, breaking the can't share mindset and coming to the must share mindset. We should be launching data literacy programs to empower staff at the end of the day, because there would be a need of users who can work on integrated platforms and leverage insights. Lastly would be to foster alliances. Join frameworks like TEFCA, the Trusted Exchange Framework, or partner with CROs to embed collaboration, ensuring data fuels collaborate innovation and not silos. These steps, platforms, skills, culture, cut the R&D cost, accelerate trials, position life sciences for a connected future where data drives every decision.
Anita, thank you so much for all your expertise in this area and your passion. And I can really hear, as we're looking ahead to the future of interoperability in life sciences and everything working together as an ecosystem. Certainly some hurdles and complexities are there, but you have some really great action steps for organizations that they can be taking and how they can prepare. Do you have any final closing thoughts for our listeners today?
Sure. So, like, at the end of it all, behind my passion and my drive for translational sciences, on the basis of interoperability, which is a very strong foundation out there, I would like to call out three steps: platforms, skills, and the culture to drive efficiency, reduce cost, and position life sciences to lead a connected healthcare future where interoperability could transform scientific potential into real world solutions.
Ah, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today, Anita. It's been a real pleasure.
Same here, Laurel.
Thank you so much.
Great talking to you, and do take care.
Great talking to you too. The Shaping Healthcare podcast is brought to you by Citius Tech, a leader in healthcare consulting and IT services. To find out more about Citius Tech, visit citiustech.com. To listen to more interesting insights on healthcare technology and innovations, search and subscribe to the Shaping Healthcare podcast. Thank you for listening. If you want to share any feedback or would like to be featured in our podcast, do write to us at citiusvision@citiustech.com.